Hello, and welcome to the Rankin Report for Sunday, June the 11th, 2023. I'm recording this a couple of days early, not for any particular reason except enjoying the fact that now that I am at the very least on summer break and actually am retired from teaching now, I can do this anytime I wish to. And it saves me a bit of time in the long run. From the book of Esther, chapter 9, verses 23 to 25. So the Jews agreed to continue the celebration they had begun, doing what Mordecai had written to them. For Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast the poor, that is, the lot, for their ruin and destruction. But when the plot came to the king's attention, he issued written orders that the evil scheme that Haman had devised against the Jews should come back onto his own head, and that he and his sons should be impaled on poles. The Jewish holiday of Purim, which is the celebration referenced in this passage that we just read, normally is celebrated in the spring. In fact, this year it was celebrated on March 6th and 7th. And yet, I read the conclusion of the book of Esther in my daily Bible readings this past Tuesday, which also happens to be the 79th anniversary of Operation Overlord, the landings on Normandy Beach in France during World War II, which we know better as D-Day. I'm convinced that this is not by chance or accident. The conditions described in Esther are similar to those the Allied Expeditionary Force faced while awaiting the go order to make what became the largest amphibious landing in history. And I don't mean rotten weather. They are similar to what we as believers face today in the struggle for this nation. In Esther's day, you had the Israelites still in exile in the Persian Empire, a minority among the various groups in the vast holdings of the Persians. In 1944, according to the Dwight D. Eisenhower Presidential Library, you had nearly 133,000 troops opening up a foothold in the Nazis' Fortress Europa. Today the numbers are different. I believe there are more of us who hold to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, as written, and, if not actual believers, the principles of Scripture that this nation was founded upon, more than those who actually seek to overthrow them. The catch is, not many of them have awakened to the danger the nation is in, but that is changing. The bottom line is that the enemies of God hold numbers that give the appearance, I say appearance, and I emphasize that strongly, of insurmountability. Particularly if you watch the news a lot, the mainstream media, and all these other things, which all don't particularly like God, and who would rather he just go away. Esther, however, is more than just a good tale to be included in Scripture. It is an account of courage in the face of persecution, just as much as Ezra and Nehemiah was, which is probably why Esther follows those two books. And, more importantly, the hand of God moving unseen behind the veil, as it were, for the protection and welfare of those who are his. You don't read in Esther of huge, spectacular miracles like the parting of the Red Sea. What you do read is where the actions of one or two people, one of them a girl in her late teens or just barely out of them, in the right place at the right time, turns the tide to save the Jewish people from annihilation. Oh, and by the way, there's a passage later on, a little further down from what we just read, that suggests that the festival established by Mordecai was not only for the Jewish people, although they are the direct beneficiaries of what is commemorated. Esther 9:27 says that the Jews established and made a custom for themselves, their descendants, and for all those who allied with them, so that they would not fail to celebrate these 2 days according to their regulation and according to their appointed time annually. Now that's the translation from the New American Standard Bible. And I thought that an interesting translation to use, seeing that this was not only for the Jews, but those who were supporting them, like America supports Israel. It is something that I've often said that we Gentiles could benefit from picking up a few things from our Jewish brothers. This might be one of them. I'm not really up on how the holiday, the festival is celebrated, although it seems to be more a time for families, and kids go around the neighborhood. It's almost like, I hate to use the comparison because Halloween has gotten, completely out there on the other side, but kids go around in costume and everybody hands out things. But the whole family is celebrated, is marked in the celebration. Everybody's in on this. When they're home, they have the meal, and the fathers and the parents recall the story and tell their children why we're celebrating this thing. Now, so far as D-Day is concerned, there is even an account in the D-Day story that touches upon what I posted last week about maintaining a humble attitude before God in doing what he calls us to do. General George S. Patton already had a reputation with the German forces even before D-Day, after he faced them down in Africa and in Italy. Said reputation being found in his nickname, Old Blood and Guts. The Germans were expecting Patton to be leading the charge into France, but he and the Third Army did not get into the game until July of 1944. Before this, he was the head of a fictional unit, the First Army Group, facing the Pas-de-Calais across the English Channel. The Allies went to a great deal of trouble making this fake unit look real. Built structures, put up tents, the whole bit, in order to keep the enemy's eyes on the big name, Patton, who they expected the big fight to be against. For Patton, who was a tenacious fighter, this had to be hard to swallow, being purposely, as Shakespeare put it in Henry V, Act 1, Scene 2, out of work and cold for action, in order for the bigger picture to succeed, the bigger operation. Yet he humbled himself enough to obey orders and let others take the glory and the brunt of the invasion. So for those who might have been thinking my post last week might have seemed a bit tame in the midst of the battle we now face, remember that the victory is God's, not ours. Our part is to maintain our humility, put our trust in him, and do what he gives us to do. As the late Keith Green put it in one of his songs, keep doing your best, pray that it's blessed, and he'll take care of the rest. Pray for the Great Awakening, no king but Jesus, independence forever. That's the Rankin Report for Sunday, June the 11th, 2023. God bless you. Have a great day.